So welcome to Managing Texture Tiling. In this video, you may want to resize objects, for example, wall panels, ceiling panels, etc. And doing so will stretch the texture and may look odd. So you may have even avoided certain textures because of that. Well, we want to fix this issue. You can rescale a texture in a few ways, but one way is in the material blueprint. I think it's the most natural way because that's where we adjust the material. And I want to say straight away that one of the things we're going to be looking at is something called UV mapping, and you might wonder why the letters U and V. It's basically because we ran out of letters, but I'll explain that when we're in there. Now, at the end of the video, I will have made a small adjustment to my world where I have this ceiling, which would have started off looking really strange and stretched, and I've showed you how to reposition it, resize it, and actually adjust the texture. So let's dive in and see how it works. Okay, so let's look at this issue of texturing. I'm going to use my ceiling or my roof, my glass ceiling as an example. You guys might want to use something else, like maybe you've got some walls that you've tried stretching and the textures have gone a little bit wrong. So let's take a look. Firstly, I'm going to get my ceiling the right size before I start. It's good to get the things the right physical size before we worry about adjusting the texture to them. So here it is. I'm going to use the scale tool, which I can get to with the R key. And I'm just going to scale down this roof panel and move it, so I'm switching between hitting R and W until I get it how I want. Now remember that you've got a top view, and feel free to go to the top view with this minimize button and then maximize the top view. And then in the top view I can see both the position of the roof and of all the walls below it. So then when I come to rescale, etc., I can do it much quicker if I'm in this view. So here we go, I can pull it down. And then remember also your snapping options up here. You can choose to snap at a different rate if you need to. Okay, so that's going to help you to get the roof exactly the right size so that it just fits over. So this may apply to your walls or whatever. Now I'm not going to make it absolutely precise. It's not worth me spending the time, but you get the idea of moving it around and getting it pretty much right. Now the question is, I want to change the texture on it. So how do I do that? So with the SM Glass Roof selected, you need the Details panel, which I've closed by mistake. So what we have here is a glass window at the moment. I'm going to stick with a glass window in my case, and I'm just going to change the material on it. So let's go to the material editor there, and I'm going to go to the view options and make the thumbnails a lot larger. So we are, just to recap, material is against the material section. I've gone to the drop down arrow to get this pane up, and then I've gone to view options to make the thumbnails larger. Then I can see the materials options. Now, one of our students used, I think, this hex tile, or was it the one below? It was Tile Pulse, I think. Yeah, Tile Pulse, there it was. So I'm using Tile Pulse in this case. Now, what's wrong with it? Well, what's wrong with it is the texture is not scaled properly. If we look at the object itself, the roof object, we can see that it has a scale of 10.25. Let's make that a nice round 10 by 5. Make that a nice round 5. Just recenter. So I'm going to make it precisely a scale of 1 in the X, 10, and then 5. Okay, and it won't quite do that, and that's because of the way it's locking the uniformity of the scaling. It's saying that this thing previously had a non-integer scale, so you can turn off the lock to make that give you all the flexibility you want. All right, then remember that you can drag in the XY plane by carefully selecting here, and now that roof does actually fit quite well, and it's scaled to an actual round numbers. Now that's going to be important in a minute. Let's go and look at this texture in the texture editor. What I'm going to do is make the Unreal Editor only half of the screen like that. Then I'm going to go to the texture. Now one way to get to it is to just click on the magnifying glass. Now, before you edit this text, you've got a choice. Do you want to use the actual texture and edit that, or do you want to make a copy of it? Well, I think we're going to make a copy of this. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to call it my underscore pulse. And I'm going to put that actually straight in content, not in the starter pack. All right. Now, where's it gone? If you lose something, you can search, and then you can look and see it's still in starter content materials. So let me try and move it again. My pulse, move or copy my pulse, and then I missed this dialog, move here. So I've just moved it back to content, and that means that I can find it easily and it's not confused with any starter content. So the roof, I'm going to change its material instance to my pulse. I can search, and therefore I'm not changing the one that's in the starter pack. It also means if you git ignore the starter pack that your changes will get saved. Okay, so it's my pulse that we're going to change. Great. Let's go into it, into the material editor. I'm going to put this on the right-hand side so we can see on the left here the actual roof in question and how it's looking. Okay, and then on the right-hand side, we've got the node editor for the materials. Now, we've briefly popped in here before, but the bit that we need to worry about is the if the material is set up properly, then you would hope that somewhere on the left-hand side probably you'll have a text chord node, texture coordinate node. Okay, if you click on that, you can see here we have U tiling, V tiling. Now, what's U and V about? Well, at some point we've got to map the coordinates, the XY coordinates, if you like, or the row column coordinates of the texture to the actual object. But we're using X, Y, Z in the world here. And we've run out of letters, so we use U and V like X and Y. All right, so these are the X and Y coordinates of the texture. So just grab your U tiling and then try changing it. Now, you're going to have to click Apply for it to actually apply back to the world. And if we say 10 for the U tiling, let's try that. And this entirely depends on how much density you want. Let's try 10 for the V tiling. Apply. Okay, that kind of looks okay. I probably want to have the V tiling the other way a little bit more or less, I think. I think it's more. Because what I'm trying to aim to achieve is that the way this roof is stretched, I want it to look fairly uniform. It doesn't have to be perfectly square. Okay, so that was the wrong way, so I go 5. So sure, you can be more methodical and work out what you should be putting in these places, but obviously a quick doubling and halving, a binary search again, can be a good way. Look, that looks pretty even. So let's go inside the room, back in the game. In fact, I'm going to give myself the luxury of a full screen view with F11. And it's much darker in here now, so we'll sort that out with a light in a minute, but I've got a roof that has a texture on it that isn't tiled too strangely. So that's pretty cool. All right, so all I'm going to do now is fill the room in with a little bit of light. Let's go and have a look. F11. Go and find some starter content. Let's go find some props and ceiling lights or wall lights. I think we could probably just use wall lights here. Or what else have I got? I could turn the brightness of this guy up a lot. That should bounce around. Let's do that for a start. How are we looking? I actually don't mind it being pretty dark in the corner here because it kind of gives some affordance. I think actually I've overdone that light. Let's bring it back down. I don't mind it being dark in this room. You're welcome to add as many more lights as you want, but this kind of indicates where we want to go. It's into this dark corner, so I'm happy with that. All right, so that's it. That's how you adjust your texture tiling. So what I want you to do now is to adjust your textures, experiment with new textures. So now you can be bold. You may have avoided textures earlier in the section because they didn't tile properly. Adjust the tiling as I've just showed you. Share the results in the course. Please take some screenshots, share them around, show off your work. I've seen some amazing results. Don't be put off by other people's work. If it's better than you think you can achieve, just share what you've got and it's all good. Just doing and sharing is all good. So see you in a moment. Okay, welcome back. I'm only coming back because I normally come back from challenges and it may be confusing for you if I don't. So I'm back, but nothing to do, right? I hope you've gone to the discussions and you've shared your awesome graphical results. And yeah, I shall see you in the next video.